This is TWiT.
When somebody is reaching for HAX, what is the problem they're trying to solve?
So HAX is attempting to be kind of a next generation WYSIWYG as far as the ease of implementation and as far as like what would happen if we built this tool using modern tooling. So it's not to knock things like CK Editor or TinyMCE or these other open source projects that have come before us. It's just they're built on this construct of let's edit this little body tag and you can put in some paragraphs and manipulate them in place, use bold text or whatever. We're just trying to do that using modern tooling, as you mentioned, Polymer, web components, and see where we can go with, the more modern web.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things that's been really interesting over the last dozen years or so. I've never been much of a front-end guy, although I know just enough jQuery to be dangerous. So my other client, my secondary client, well, my client I've had the longest time, InsightCruise, has a lot of jQuery on their website now, and some of it was rather clever. Some of it is very confusing to come back to years later and try to figure out what the hell I was trying to do with that. The one thing that is getting consistently better and better is the idea of web components and pluggable interfaces and style sheets that only apply to a certain section, which allows you to build up these items. And even in a sense, you're extending HTML. You're defining new elements that you can drop in. Is that the basis of HAX?
Yeah, it's a pretty brilliant specification. So people, still ask people if they're using it, and people go, "Oh, I didn't even know that still existed." It was proposed around 2011, and it's just one of those chicken and egg scenarios where you need enough developers to adopt the thing and enough browsers to go, "Oh, hey, these developers are adopting it." Which, as you mentioned, Polymer before. Polymer helps with a little bit of that. It's kind of that glue layer to help progress the web. But it's basically you're defining your own new HTML tags and having a way of getting those recognized by the browser. So Chrome and Opera and Safari natively recognize web components. Firefox is supposed to come along at about October 23rd, I think, is the next potential release for it. And IE and Edge, you have a polyfill.
And explain polyfill.
Oh, sorry. So it's kind of a little JavaScript shim that basically teaches that browser, hey, if you see, in this case, a custom element. So let's say it's a my-link, brackets. That it teaches that browser, hey, you can interpret this and escalate it into this chunk of code, which you mentioned, the scope CSS and whatnot.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this framework and what HAX is doing is really all client side, right? This is as opposed to something like PHP or some other templated system that requires the server to render final HTML in order to be able to display it in the browser. Am I accurate there?
Yeah. So a lot of what HAX is doing is just leveraging this approach. So HAX itself is ultimately on the interface. It's a bracket HAX-body tag. And then all the guts of the HTML go in between there. And then HAX understands how to moderate that and interface with it so that when you click a paragraph, you're editing a paragraph. When you select an image, you can modify that image. But it also understands how to talk to other web component tags. So if we have a media-image, and that's not a normal HTML tag, we can kind of imbue it with these additional properties to understand the design better and how to modify it. But yeah, it all happens on the front end.